everybody. We're here live from the EB Expo 2012. Woo! It's the live OzSpot. I'm your host, Laura Parker. I'm joined by my lovely colleagues, Mr. Dan Capini.
Thank you, Laura.
I know, I'm so nice to you. We've got Mr. Inte and Randolph Ramsey.
Well, how come we don't get lovely? Why is Dan the only one that gets
Couch
lovely?
battle.
He's my co-host.
I got makeup on.
That's why.
Randy got dressed up in everything for this today.
Yeah.
We're live from the EB Expo, and we've got a really big show coming up for you guys. It's an hour and a half. We're going to be talking about everything and anything to do with games, gaming news, gaming previews, all the stuff we've seen, cosplaying, and esports, of course. They're in your esports manager. Yes. So I think we're going to start with you, Randolph.
Yes.
Tell us.
Don't we want to talk about our special guests that are coming on later, though? For this very special edition of the OzSpot?
Yes, we have we have very special guests. I don't know whether to announce them now, though. Or
I think we should announce them.
Should we announce them?
Yeah, we should announce them.
Okay, so we've got Miss Janet and Hex from Good Game coming on in about 20 minutes. And then we've got Mr. Leigh Harris from MCV Pacific. And I think rounding up today is Mr. Joab Gilroy from GameArena. What?
You're so formal today.
What?
It's like Mr. and Miss and...
This is how we do things. We're formal.
Okay, we're professional now because we have an audience.
We have an audience. We have to be professional.
Live studio audience.
Live studio
Yeah,
audience.
We joked about this for such a long time.
I know, and every time we joke about it on the OzSpot, it feels like, oh, it's never going to happen. And now that it's happening, it's kind of weird.
It's real.
Now it's happening, you've just clammed up and become all formal.
It's also worth mentioning, obviously, we're also live on Twitch and GameSpot, so if you've got questions or comments about any of the stuff we talk about today,
we will take
drop
your
them
questions.
in the chat and we'll try and answer as many of them as we can.
We will answer all your questions.
Is GSEBX. I don't know if you can see it behind us, but tweet us with that hashtag.
It's a sexy hashtag.
We are happy to talk to you. Yes, it is a sexy hashtag. Thank you for that, Laura.
What?
GS sex box. That's what it looks like.
I
don't like it.
Randolph, we have a live studio audience. Let's
I
not
know,
get
it's
into
an
the
all
smut
ages gig,
straight
right?
away. It's a bit too much smut. So I think we're going to go talk a little bit about what we're looking forward to at EB Expo. Obviously, it's like 3 days of huge stuff. It looks a lot like E3. My first impression was it looks like E3. Huge booths everywhere, lots of cool games, massive lines. But it's a little bit smaller than E3, but still just as exciting.
It's a lot smaller than E3, but like I think it's obviously very different, right? Because I think they've really tried to control the numbers here, because they have this whole sort of like session system going on, and I think they've got limited tickets for each one, right? So I think the crowd's pretty healthy, and
that's great.
Yeah,
I think they're expecting 30,000 through the door over the course of the weekend.
And I've seen some really interesting people in the crowd. Like obviously, I've seen young families and stuff, which is really nice, and young men as well.
And I guess you'll have to forgive if there's any ambient noise you can hear. It's because we're competing with some very
I can
loud
hardly hear you
here.
talk. Let alone myself.
Yes. So we've got the Ubisoft booth right onto our left, and we have 2K to our right, and we're getting bombarded by either some hip hop or NBA 2K13 or some Just Dance.
Dubstep.
Some dubstep.
Alternating.
Yeah.
But I think I want Dan to take the lead and tell us, we've got a lot of really exciting guests coming onto this stage right here in the next 3 days, and I want you to give us a quick rundown of what kind of games we're going to be seeing.
We have some awesome stuff coming up. Obviously, really the focus for us here at EB Expo is serving the guys who can be here in the crowd, showing them some of the cool games without having to line up, and then the guys who can't be here in person, it's a chance for them to see some of the game demos, hear from some of the big developers, hear some interesting commentary. We've got a panel that you'll be hosting over the course of the weekend. Zorene's going to host one on esports and where it's heading. So we've got lots of really great content. So if you're here, well, you probably won't be seeing this, but come down and see us at the booth, come and see the team and say hi. And if you can't be here in person, whether it's because you're interstate within Australia or international, leave us some comments, tweet at us, and we'll try and bring you the experience of being at a show like this without physically having to step foot inside.
And what kind of games are we going to be seeing on the show, Dan?
We have an Injustice God Among Us demo.
This afternoon, right?
With Mr. Ed Boon, which is going to be extremely exciting. It's one of the big games coming out. Then we've got Halo, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, we've got Medal of Honor Warfighter,
Assassin's Creed 3.
You name it, if it's big and coming out, we've probably got it here in some capacity.
Awesome. That sounds very exciting.
I'm looking forward to Ed Boon this afternoon. So like he's swinging by after the podcast.
Yeah,
right?
you guys are gonna interview him. Have you prepped your questions, or are you just gonna go in there and just be
just
like?
Just gonna talk about Mortal Kombat the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what he'd love to talk about.
Yeah, he's gonna love that.
Especially this being Australia and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna talk about our first topic, and very pertinent because I can see the Microsoft booth from here. But the first topic we're going to talk about is the fact that Microsoft announced that they're going to lower the prices of the 360 and Kinect bundles, which is a really interesting move because it happened maybe like 2 weeks after Sony announced their new PS3 model.
What's the actual price cut, Laura?
Okay, so we've got the 250 gig Xbox is going to be $300, which is like a $150 price cut. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
And they've got
a significant price cut too.
Yeah, it's huge. And that's kind of what they're advertising. That's what they're really going for. So now it's $300. The 4 gig Xbox is going to be $200, which is a $50 price cut, and the 4 gig Xbox 360 with Kinect is going to be $300, which is a huge. And Microsoft say that it's their biggest price cut in Australia on their Xbox 360.
That probably sounds
products.
right. I mean, they've tended to be around the $100 mark when they've taken money off. Up to $100.
Yeah.
So 150 off is, I wonder if that's signs of clearing out the warehouse a little bit, or
I know what you're going to say, Dan.
Reactionary pricing in the wave of the new PS3 model, which is also because the new models are what $299 and $399.
Yeah.
But they're already about $50 cheaper than that at retail.
Yeah.
So you can find them at $250 and $350.
So the two competitors are quite kind of even in pricing right now. So I know what you were going to say before is they're trying to clear all their models because they're going to announce the Xbox 720.
Are they?
But no, they're not. But I think that this was done in reaction to obviously the Sony coming out with the new PS3 models. So
can they do that quickly though? Like, do you think they're geared up?
2 weeks.
No, but do you think they're geared enough to react to a competitor that quickly?
You have to be quick in this market. You have to react. I know because I run a publishing company.
It's business,
No,
right?
It's all about reaction. No, but seriously, I mean, like, why would you wait? And they've just announced their Christmas lineup, and so they're pushing that really hard. And a price drop, I guess, just comes hand in hand with that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that I don't think that they necessarily planned this as a direct reaction to what Sony did a couple of weeks ago.
Do you think it was planned in advance?
I think it was planned, right? And I think Sony had a track record of lowering prices or introducing new sort of SKUs of their console around Gamescom, around TGS. So they've been doing that I think every year for the last 3 or 4 years, right? They've announced something new with the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
There was either a new SKU or a price drop to the existing SKU, that type of thing, right? So if you were smart as a Microsoft, you'd know that they were going to do that. Yeah. So you just plan that around this time of year we should do a price drop because Sony is probably going to do one. Yeah. But I don't think it was they woke up after Gamescom announcement and went, oh god, we have to do something quick and let's drop the price.
Or even maybe you don't think they even maybe rushed to quickly drop the price after Sony announced?
Yeah, because I'm thinking you can't just drop the price of these things in 2 weeks. You have all these retailer relationships to try and take care of, right? So you're trying to sell a certain amount of stock at a certain price, and you can't just turn around without any notice to say, hey, we're dropping the price by $60 or whatever it is this
so
time around.
Then how do you explain the fact that it came so quickly after the Sony made a really huge announcement?
I think I just sort of did the last 5 minutes of explaining.
I wasn't listening, sorry.
Can't you hear me because of dance?
No, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I got distracted by Pink.
Pink is playing in the background.
No, they would have planned something for around this time period under the assumption that Sony is doing something.
But do you think that they hurried, they kind of pushed it a bit quicker because of Sony's announcement?
No, I don't think so. I think they probably already always planned this, and it is good leading up to the Christmas rush, and obviously timing it around EB Expo as well. And they knew a lot of consumer focus was going to be around the show, so why not do it around?
It's attractive in the pre-Christmas rush.
Yeah.
And on top of this, as you said, Randy, part of me thinks that maybe it's a reactionary move on some part, but the market is set that stuff drops at set intervals anyway. And if it's about a gradual phasing out of a particular product and about the phasing in of another, or the attractiveness about a particular fiscal period, then they're going to make the moves that make that product most attractive to that market at that time.
Yeah.
So going into the Christmas period, I guess, what do you guys think will be kind of the what's the most attractive console deal? Because like we obviously got the new PS3 models, and now Microsoft's dropped their price of the 360, and obviously the Wii U's coming out very soon.
And so that's only 400, right?
Yeah. So we're going into a Christmas season where actually, even though no new consoles have been announced except for the Wii U, we actually got
a new console.
I said except for the Wii U.
No others.
No others. We've actually got new things. Like each publisher has done something new besides look, here are some more Christmas games. So what do you guys think will be like the best seller or like the most attractive one?
You know what? It's really hard to tell because I think there's still a lot to be. I think we need to wait a little bit more to see how Nintendo actually sharpens its message around the Wii U, because we haven't started seeing any sort of like mainstream retail ads for it. We haven't seen like the big concentrated marketing push.
You will.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. And like I don't know whether a lot of mainstream consumers actually realize that the Wii U is a brand new console and not just another Wii
addition, like an upgrade.
That's true. Yeah.
So once they start pumping the market with all this new information, that new console, and Nintendo has a very strong brand presence in that mainstream family space, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, when you see an Xbox or PS3 for around 300 and a brand new console for maybe around 400, and it's got the Nintendo name around it, maybe you'll think, that's not so much of a leap to buy the new thing and please my kids.
I think that's a big part of it. I think the big challenge as well from Nintendo's point of view is properly messaging the fact that it is a totally new device, because it's in this really odd position where it can leverage on the Wii brand and the legacy that it's built, but it's also almost tied to the family-friendly, peripheral kind of waggle-based gameplay that they pioneered.
Yeah.
And now suddenly they're playing in a mature space with, proper controllers, and it's a very different experience. So they've got to address that for the core gamers who are going to want to buy a new console without running the risk of getting lumped in with the Wii market.
Yeah. And obviously software is a really big one as well, right? I mean...
Well, like Wii U game prices are pretty they're reasonable, aren't they? They're like $80 or something like that?
Well, in the US they're supposed to be about 60. I don't know how that will translate exactly.
Is that for first party titles?
That's first party.
For all titles.
So first party, right?
Which?
Wii U titles,
the prices for Wii U?
Yeah.
Wii U games.
Have they confirmed it from Australia?
Not for Australia, but in the US.
Yeah. US pricing. And it's not a huge price hike on current gen or anything.
No. Well, if you just did the conversions, then $60 in Australia would be pretty sweet. But I don't think that that's what we're going to end up with. I think it'll be more around the $80 mark.
Yeah, I think it'll be $80-$90 from what I've read around. Yeah.
Right. Well, cool. All right. Well, we've got our first special guest lined up, so we're going to have to say goodbye to Randy and Zarin just for 10 minutes.
Yes.
And
don't miss us too much, internet. Where's my camera? Don't miss us too much.
You're going to miss your heaps. All right.
Just got to go and put some more makeup on.
You're way shiny.
Right. We'll be back
so we'll have
soon.
you guys back soon, but now we're going to welcome... Bye.
Yes, welcome your special guest.
Special guests. Come, special guests. Whoa.
Let's do that.
Hello. Hello. You can have all the lollies. Here's your microphone.
You've been standing there offset just eyeing them off, haven't you? Which one do I want?
I have to do the introductions. So we have the lovely Janet and the lovely Hex from Good Game. Hi.
Hello.
Say hello to the internet.
Hi.
You get a special round of applause.
Oi.
Don't you feel special?
I'm going to leave that there.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the show and what you've seen so far and, what's excited you so far? Pay no attention to that.
Okay. I host a television show called Good Game on the ABC. I've been doing that for about 3 years now, I think. And we're a video game review show that basically tries to inform and entertain about the latest games. We try to do retroactive pieces and all that kind of stuff. Dev interviews, as much coverage as we can, but mostly it's just a celebration of how much we love games, and we try to share that passion with as many people as possible. So, yeah, we've just been gearing up for the Christmas period, and we always have a bit of a quiet time in the middle of the year, and then it really starts to ramp up towards Christmas with all the game reviews. So we're just trying to stay on top of everything at the moment.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about kind of coming up into the Christmas period, how all the publishers are kind of like battling with each other. So the new PS3 models have just been announced. Obviously, Microsoft's dropped their pricing of the 360, and the Wii U's coming out. So we were just talking about kind of going into the Christmas period. Which console, which publisher's going to come out on top? You know, who's got the most attractive deal? I mean, are you guys excited about the Wii U, for example?
I'm curious. I just think that it's going to be difficult in terms from a hardware perspective. You know, we started to hear really big things about it initially, about what it was going to be capable of, and then I feel like with each kind of new update, it was like it's going to be like super powerful, and it's going to be able to do all these things, and then it was kind of like, well, it's probably going to be like as good as current gen consoles, and now it's, you know, I feel like the next generation of consoles will be following it quite soon, and it's kind of always going to be a little bit lagging behind in the race. So I think it'll be really great to begin with to see, you know, how it'll, I suppose, change the way people game together. But I don't necessarily know if it's ever going to be at that level, because it's always that little bit behind.
I think, you know, we make a show for younger gamers as well, Spawn Point, and the anticipation amongst the spawnlings is right up there.
Because they must really, because they obviously engage a lot with Nintendo's products.
Yes, they do, and so they're very, very excited. So I'm very excited for them on their behalf. Look, I think it's got some potential. I really hope that everything that we think is going to be good about it actually eventuates, that it doesn't feel a little bit like a
gimmick,
you know, gimmick.
Have you guys had a chance to play around with the console?
I had a go of it at E3, not just past, but the year before, and there weren't any actual games on it then, but just some little test games that they'd made to you know, sort of test the hardware and give people an idea of what it was about. And it was interesting the way they kind of geared these little mini games to show, well, some people can be playing using their Wiimotes looking at the TV, and then somebody else will be, you know, using the screen in a different way. So that was certainly unique. But at the end of the day, I think people just want to be able to use it. I mean, mature gamers want to be able to use it to play AAA titles, and so until we sort of see how that is going to go, that controller and
yeah. Well, this is something that we've been talking quite a lot on previous OzSpots about this kind of, you know, the two controller thing and kind of cross-platform functionality and things like that. And I think one of the things that comes down to it, like Nintendo with the Wii U, is really trying to sell, you know, they've done their Wii Play on the casual market, but with the Wii U, they're trying to bring in the core gamers back. And whether they've done that so far successfully is kind of what we've been debating, because obviously their third-party stuff is, like, it's good, but I just don't know why, for example, a Call of Duty fan would want to play Call of Duty on the Wii U when they could play on their PC or 360.
It was interesting because people always ask me what my favorite console is, and I'm always like,
people?
well, yeah, I don't know, it's like a really common question. That and why am I so short? Like, but yeah, no.
Why are you so short?
No,
I'm kidding.
I ask myself that every day. No, they always want me to know. They want me to pick a console. They're like, which is the best one? Or you know, I've never owned a console. Which one should I buy? And I'm always like, well, you know, cross-platform. There's always so many different games that might only be released on one. So my answer was always going to be all of them. But if choosing which console to play a game on, I tend to go with the controller that's most comfortable. Right. And that, I guess, is quite often the 360. Even though the PS3, you know, I think graphically it's marginally a bit better, the 360 console, like controller, is just so much more comfortable to play with. And when I look at that Wii U controller, that big...
You mean the gamepad?
Yeah, like, I mean, I can't see myself, like, for hours on end, like, really finding that. I mean, I can't say because I haven't done it yet, but...
You guys should play Zombie U. Have you played Zombie U yet?
I saw it at E3, but I actually haven't played it yet, so no.
It's heaps of fun, and the way it works is, so you use the gamepad, like, as a way to help you with the game that's on the main screen. So I think the gamepad has like your inventory in it and a map as well. Yep. So you kind of like use it, glance down at it occasionally while you're playing them, and it's supposed to help. And you also usually use a flashlight, don't you? Yeah.
Do you find it comfortable to use though, like to hold in your hands? Do you find it like,
You know
do
what?
your hands slip off a little bit?
It's
Or?
really light, and so once you get over the initial bulk of it, because it's quite big, but it's really light. So it's just it does.
Even with sweaty gamer hands, like in summer.
That's a stereotype.
Have we summer tested it?
Steph, that's a stereotype. We don't have sweaty hands. Do you have sweaty hands?
I get sweaty gamer hands.
It's these lights though. It's these bright lights.
Actually, the thing I found the most with the Wii U controller is that it, coming from either 360 or PS3 controller, it's good, but it still feels like I don't really know where the buttons live yet. And
right, yeah.
I find that the triggers are really natural because your fingers just kind of sit in one spot.
Yeah.
When I was playing Zombie U, I went to go hit, because the X and Y are also swapped.
Yeah.
Kind of did my head in.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was kind of fumbling over, not really knowing what I was pressing like I would with any standard controller.
But you'd get used to that, right?
Exactly.
Like it's something that you can
and
always...
there's still the classic style Pro controller if you want that experience,
yeah.
which obviously doesn't have those screen built in.
It's going to be interesting, I think, to see the gameplay elements that come into, their traditional titles, Pikmin, Super Mario Brothers. They could do with some new stuff, and so I'm really hoping that it gives it a refresh.
Well, that's interesting because Nintendo's been criticized a lot for kind of rehashing the same old franchises, right? But then you think, how many people love Mario and how many people love Zelda? And the answer is a lot of freaking people love Mario and Zelda. So if you've got something that works really well for you, right, and people are obviously still buying those games, then I just think that, the criticisms around that are a little bit like, because Nintendo, of course, like they're always going to make Mario games and there's always going to be Zelda games. So.
Yeah, but the kids are smart now.
Really?
Yeah, I reckon they're playing more, they're smarter, and they just... personally, I think they do need to introduce some stuff because the kids, they get them and they play them and they don't want to just play the same game again the next year.
And they don't have, younger kids don't have the nostalgia to carry them through as well. With a lot of older gamers, they're like, oh, it's Mario, I played this as a kid. And sometimes 50% of the enjoyment for them is just taking them back to when they first played a Mario game. Whereas new kids coming through have never played a Mario game and they pick this up and they're like, why is it so easy? Like,
Exactly. The 3DS one, good example.
It was super
Too easy.
Too easy, yeah. Well, I guess they need to get on that and make some new games. Now, can you guys tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the EB Expo with Good Game and all your various commitments? Like, what do you guys?
Sure. Well, today, sadly, not much. We've been here for the Ladies in Gaming panel.
How was that?
It was great. Really good. Yeah, it was very enjoyable.
A hectic turnout. They had to turn people away. Yeah,
it's good. That's nice. And then tomorrow we've got a little stand, which I actually haven't seen where it is yet. I think it's down near the dustbins.
We're always like near the bins of the toilets or something like that.
That's handy.
Well, people do need to go to the toilet, so it'll push the public in that direction.
But the whole team will be here tomorrow, and we've got some things to give away, stickers and stuff.
Oh, exciting! And what about the show, Good Game? What are your plans for like Christmas? Are you doing Christmas special or like
always a Christmas
more
special?
Songs or, always a Christmas.
I'm going to break out a tux this year, I think.
Oh, very
a lady
nice.
tux, and yeah, I mean it's great because we get to make. We get to basically look back on the whole year and have our favourite moments and do our best picks and all that kind of stuff, which is a little bit indulgent and a little bit fun, and it's all, we have the same sort of segments every year that people look forward to, and that's always really great to deliver on that.
And we're doing a live show, Laura, which you might know a little bit about.
Yes, I know a little bit about that. That's going to be a part of the Graphic
Festival at the Opera House
in November
11th.
And you're doing like a gaming quiz, gaming trivia.
Yes, you've got to imagine Spicks and Specs.
Yes.
But hosted by Darren.
Darren the robot is the quiz master.
Yes.
But instead of being about music, it's all about video games. So lots of footage, lots of shenanigans, a lot of fun, hopefully.
And people can still buy tickets to that?
I think so, yeah.
Or is it? Okay, cool. All right, and that's at the Opera House?
At the Opera House on November the 11th.
Awesome. All right.
And you're in it.
Me?
You're going to say? Yeah, you're going to let people know?
Oh, sorry, what?
That you're actually going to be there?
Oh, I wasn't planning to, but thanks, Janet.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I may be there on either Team Hex or Team Barjo, depending on how I get allocated. But that should be lots of fun. Thanks for that. You're lovely. But thank you guys so much for joining us on the show today, and we'll see you around the hallowed halls of EB Expo.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For having
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Thanks,
I'm gonna
guys.
take like a
Please
handful.
take,
grab a
take like a handful.
Just
Take
for
the
the
whole
train ride
thing.
home.
All right.
Who's
Cool.
up next?
Well, I think we're gonna get Randy and thanks guys. We're gonna get Randy and Zoe back in.
I like that Randolph Ramsey.
That Randolph Ramsey.
Oh, it's this
I
one.
think it's just me.
What are you doing?
Zoe's busy.
Why is it just you?
Zoe's busy, just like monitoring chat.
Oh. So what are people saying on the Twitch chat?
Saying how awesome we are.
Any
and all that.
questions?
No, actually, I haven't seen chat at all, but there's like the
Okay,
stream's
so
going
you're
really
just
well. The
lying.
stream's going. This is
Just
live
like
right now.
lying. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Oh,
Alright.
Zoe's here right now to come talk to us.
Well, thanks
Hi,
for
Zoe.
turning up, Zorin. Okay.
That was really professional.
Hello.
I don't know if this is exciting. I don't know if people want to hear about that.
I think it's important to talk about.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about something that is potentially not as exciting as something that we were just talking
All right,
about.
I'm out
Okay.
of here. Yeah.
But you have to stick around.
Yes.
So basically, we're going to be talking about the fact that Steam
Yes.
is launching non-gaming software. So you guys
Okay.
would have heard all about that. There are a couple of like creativity and productivity tools that they've just launched on the Steam store.
Yep.
Stuff that I don't know what it does, but basically the story here is that they're branching out. So from not just games. And what I really wanted to talk about was, so obviously Steam has like over 40 million users by now, and they just launched a filmmaking tool as well. So Valve's branching out into looking at other sections of the market, which is really interesting. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of how this is going to affect the future of Steam, but also whether gaming companies are going to start, like, I don't know, selling Photoshop in the future.
No.
Okay, great. And that concludes our 5-minute discussion on...
Why is it so far-fetched to think they might do Photoshop in the future?
Yeah.
So can you say that again, Dan? Sorry.
Why is it far-fetched
Just
to
dance.
think
Just
that,
dance. It's just really loud.
Why is it so far-fetched to think that Valve may do something like Photoshop licensing in the future?
I think Valve is a very unique company in the gaming industry.
Yeah, that's true.
In that they're able to probably experiment a lot more than some of their competitors. I mean, look at their great big experiment with Steam, which ended up to where it is today. And they're able to do that because they're very sort of like focused. They've been great in that they've had a small number of really big hits, which means they can they can turn their attention towards sort of like other projects, and they don't need to be on that sort of like same treadmill that all the other sort of major publishers are on, that they need to keep a massive hit every single year.
So you're saying that because they have their own agenda, they don't really play by the rules that everybody else
and they've always
plays.
played differently.
They
right?
have,
Like
that's
Valve
true.
has always been somewhat outside, like an outsider in games publishing.
Yeah.
And like the way that the way it's run by Gabe there is amazing, right? Like they have no titles, no like specific teams, right? Like anyone can just join a project.
They have discussion groups, yeah.
And where else do you see that
and
anywhere in the games industry?
Well, certainly not at more structured companies like EA and Activision. So they definitely have, Valve definitely have their own kind of the way that they work. But but I guess and you can't accuse them of like, for example, launching all this new software because they're trying to make money, although I guess they are at the end of the day, but it's not like they need to make money. So I was kind
I think they need to make money.
Well, I mean, they're not going broke exactly.
No.
Like, they could survive on Steam for as long as people buy games online, pretty much.
Great business analysis there, Laura.
Thank you.
Well, no, Gabe, speaking of how much money they're making, Gabe did just make, like, the Fortune 500, right? As, like, one of the,
Who?
Gabe.
Oh, Gabe Newell, right.
Yeah, so he's like, officially a billionaire, or like a multi-billionaire,
Yeah.
like one of the Americans on the, like the Fortune list. So, they're obviously making,
Bobby Kotick's not on that list, is he?
I don't know.
I know on my...
I should check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, anyway, no, like I think they've always structured themselves as being different. So like with Source, they've always tried to do something new with that, and
they're doing the Greenlight thing as well. Steam
And Greenlight, yeah.
So they're trying to look at different business
But see,
models.
that's the thing that makes me think that the next natural progression for them as a company, if they're going to go into this software licensing and potentially even discounted software, it seems like if you're going to make a move like Greenlight, then you support the development scene. And I think as part of that, some of those features also bootstrapped on with the Steam Workshop functionality. So what they might be doing is almost building indie within Steam. They've already got their we can distribute content.
Like in-house development teams.
In-house, out-house development.
Yeah.
Out-house development. Where what they can, no, it's not that. Where what they can do is have these agile, non-Steam affiliated, non-Valve affiliated studios that are making content with tools that they got through the service, and they can be end-to-end distribution. Make it with us, sell it to us, distribute it through us, we'll give you a cut, put the profits back into tools. There's a million things that they could do with this. And I get the feeling that, because we saw Gaikai go down the similar sort of route where they said we're going to offer game streaming services where you pay a flat fee and you get your unlimited gaming content. And then they also went down the software route as well, where they're offering stuff like Photoshop licensing, because software as a service is something you can monetize over time. So where they're going is anybody's guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if their software library expands grossly after this announcement.
And they are offering it at discounted prices. Well, they were for the first week.
I think it was 10% off or 10% off. I think it was 10% off.
10% off.
And another thing that Valve has that other game publishers don't have is a positive public image and a really loyal audience. In terms of you wouldn't buy a software suite from Activision, right? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't buy it from EA.
We won't even buy games from Activision.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like like Valve, especially amongst like the more core gaming community, got a really, really sort of positive rep. And people will try it stuff like, Valve is doing this thing, I'll give it a try, They
know that Valve won't screw them over, pretty much. They have that loyalty there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't think most other game companies come anywhere near the same level of loyalty to the brand as Valve has.
Which is what makes me think that if they want to continue to foster that, there's a really big indie market at the moment. There are people who are a little bit jaded and disenfranchised with the AAA space, and so they're looking for these $5, $10 niche titles that are appearing out of nowhere suddenly. Why not capitalize on the fact that those people are already on Steam buying the content? They could be the next generation of creators. Why not then sell them the tools and sell them, say, support? Maybe they'll go into like a coaching market where they say, we have third-party publishers who can provide like tutoring almost for how to get the most out of these tools. Pay a nominal licensing fee and you can get access to their knowledge and experience, and then pop it out the door and sell it without leaving one platform.
Well, that's interesting. It reminds me of that story that you sent me about Steam Greenlight. There was remember the project that this game company wanted to make an adult, an adult game.
And it wasn't like sexy, it wasn't like
you've embarrassed the ring,
right?
No, it was just like a
it was like an erotic.
It was like a video game version of an erotica novel, basically.
And like 50 Shades of Grey, but in computer games.
But interestingly, they applied to do the Steam Greenlight, and they got rejected because apparently
It didn't pass
It didn't pass the terms and conditions of
which was kind of vague, right? Like, which was vague. What they said it was going to be. Yeah,
because it wasn't like I guess those terms and conditions or rules are in place for games that violate them in that they're either too sexual or too graphic or whatever. But this obviously doesn't take into account context.
Yeah.
So this game was like, even though it wasn't like graphic or may have not been graphic or may have been graphic, but it was all about like that like erotica kind of like themes and stuff,
which apparently we can't handle.
No, because
we can't handle that in the games industry.
Gamers can handle violence, but we can't handle
unless you're
sex.
In Japan and then it's tentacles, and that's too far.
I think we don't need
open
to talk about tentacles.
Let's talk about no, let's not. It's a family-friendly show.
Is it? I think I want to take some questions. Dan, I feel like I want to take some questions from the audience.
Are we taking questions from the audience?
Yes, I want to take some questions from the audience.
Okay.
We have a question.
We have
some questions.
Are you just gonna yell it out? Is that how we're gonna do it?
I don't know how we're gonna do this.
Yeah, just yell it out.
Yell it out. What's the question?
We are not professionals. You know, that's the second time someone's asked me that today.
What's that?
And that's,
What's the question?
he's asking if there's a job opening.
A job opening at GameSpot.
Yes, but yeah, call us in 10 minutes.
We're
No,
about
not
to
really.
fire Randall.
Comes
Not
with a
really.
t-shirt.
No, not at the moment, unfortunately.
So we should have a microphone roaming around now if people have
Okay.
questions.
All right.
Anyone else have any questions about anything?
We have a question over there.
One up the back.
Video games. Hey, it's Leigh.
Video games.
grab the
Yeah, we have
microphone.
Leigh too.
Come here.
Yeah, we need Leigh to come up.
Events like this, so the E3, the EB Games Expo, do you see any events like this in the foreseeable future, like an E3 for Australia?
Well,
a good question.
funny you ask that.
PAX is coming to Australia, which is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And we actually have
We actually have one of the
organisers.
PAX organisers coming on stage on Sunday to talk a little bit more about what the plans are.
Yeah.
But you know, like consumer shows like this really aren't new. I mean, like there's been a few that they've tried over the last sort of 5-10 years or so.
Even more. I went to
Yeah.
a couple down at Darling Harbour when I was growing up and played
Yeah.
Turok.
And there were a couple of Melbourne shows as well that were running for a few years. I guess the difficulty has always been for us getting really interesting talent to come out and to come out at a good time
Yeah.
because
It's so
we
far
are
away.
kind of a long way
Yeah.
away. So by the time that developers can come and visit, it's usually really late in the cycle. So a game's maybe a week out or 2 weeks away from release or something like that, which kind of lessens the hype. So I guess what EB has done with this is it's been able to tie its retail show well with a public show.
Consumers,
So
yeah.
and I guess like the final thing is if people support this, then yeah, there's definitely going to be more
Yeah.
shows like this. And I don't think it's any coincidence that PAX decided to come to Australia after what EB did last year, and then apparently that was a pretty big
Yeah.
show with the Gold Coast. So yeah, we'll see.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to sneeze.
Yeah, are you going to sneeze?
No, I'm not.
Live
Okay.
programming, everybody. Live
Secrets to
programming.
look at the light.
Shall we get Leigh on there?
I think we'll just answer a few more questions from you.
Okay.
Just
Leigh.
hang out, Leigh. Just take a chill
Just chill
pill.
out,
Just
Leigh.
chill.
We have someone waiting in the wings.
We have
Yeah.
any other questions?
We have one
There's
more
another
question.
question.
Another question over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Seeing that like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed are the big names now, do you reckon they'll survive next year? Do you reckon it'll be a big hype?
So can you repeat the question?
Can you repeat that?
Seeing that Assassin's Creed and Call of Duty are the big names here, if they don't bring out another game, do you reckon this will survive for next year?
Okay, so the question was, seeing how the Assassin's Creed 3 and Call of Duty are the big games here this year, if they don't bring out more new games, will the show survive till next year? Is that what you mean?
Oh,
Yeah.
you mean the EB Expo?
You mean the Expo? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely think it'll survive. I mean, look how many people are here and how many people bought tickets and stuff, and people are, interested in more than just, like the big blockbuster AAA titles, although, they're like the big crowd pleasers. I think there's definitely scope for something like this to last like a really long time, and I think it'll draw more and more people, especially if, as Randy said, we can attract more international developers to come to Australia, like Ed Boon, for example, and give talks and workshops and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think it'll survive. Plus, we're here and we do a really good job.
But it is about time though that Australia got a really big, a decent show.
I think-
So
Yeah, but in terms of like gaming population, like Australia has quite a small gaming population compared to somewhere like the US or Europe. So it's understandable that the big consumer
like we
shows-
can't support 12 shows,
Yeah.
but we can maybe do one or two, and like maybe it needs to roam around because we're such a spread out country, right? You can't just have it in one location because I'm sure everyone who's watching this from Melbourne now is pissed off, right? That it's not in
Yeah,
Melbourne.
we've actually had a
and
lot of
people
people
from
saying, yeah.
Brisbane are pissed off that it's not there
Yeah.
in Perth and Adelaide.
Yeah, you
so
can't
I think
please
PAX is going to be in Melbourne next year.
Yeah.
And I bet everyone in Sydney is going to say that's crap. Why isn't PAX in Sydney? All right.
That's not been confirmed yet, so you can't talk about
That's not
that.
been confirmed yet? Okay. Didn't the internet confirm it last week?
There's a
maybe.
rumor.
There's a rumor.
Right,
You know
okay.
what we feel
Rumor-
about rumors,
rumor
Randall.
mills. Okay, rumor.
Any other
Okay.
questions, guys? Got someone down here.
Oh.
I know.
Oh.
Oh,
Another one down there.
Don't worry, we'll get to you.
With Black Ops and Assassin's Creed coming out of the two of them, which would seem more likely to sell?
Did you hear that?
Sorry, I missed that. One more time.
Okay. With Black Ops coming out, Black Ops 2 and Assassin's Creed, Out of the two of them, which is most likely to sell the most?
Sorry, I still missed the end of it.
Do you mean which one's going to sell more? Is that what you asked? Which one's going to sell more?
Yes.
If I had to choose between Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Ops, I'm just going to go with Black Ops. But
I think that's probably a pretty safe bet, you know.
So the question was, what was the question? Between Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Ops, which one will sell more?
yeah.
Which one will sell more? Is that right?
Black Ops.
Black Ops.
Oh, Black Ops,
I
yeah.
think
Black Ops by a mile.
Well, Call of Duty has a
why?
massive fan base, and just because of the name.
What? I didn't hear what you said.
I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Jump up and tell us.
Come up. Come talk to us. So what did you say?
I think personally people have to choose between where they're heading, whether they're going for Black Ops in Call of Duty or they're following Assassin's Creed more.
Why can't you play both?
Well, it depends on what you like. You like to play online and play Call of Duty, or you play something offline and Assassin's Creed.
Play Assassin's Creed
different
online.
games.
Yeah. I think you should
Speaking of
ask that guy.
Assassin's
Because
Creed-
Altier just walked onto our
Altier
set.
has
Just
something to say. Another question at the front.
Oh, Ezio, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, it's the...
Racist.
Where's
Hey, I'm
Charles?
sorry, Dan.
one more question
Yeah.
down the front.
One more
Yeah,
question
one
down
more
here.
question. Can you just maybe...
Can you yell, please?
Can you just like really shout?
It's a very loud show.
What's your favorite game here?
What's
my
our favorite game here? Alright, you guys go first.
Actually, I can answer that.
No. Assassin's Creed, yes.
Do you work for Ubisoft?
Laura,
act-
don't steal my game.
No, I'm gonna
don't steal my
Okay,
game.
so there's this game here called Nat Geo Wild, and it's on Connect, and basically you play as a different range of wild animals, and you get to claw other wild animals and pick them up with your teeth and punch them. So I think that's a pretty good game.
And you got a headbutt ram
And you can-
as well.
Randy and I
It's a
actually...
family-friendly game.
Yeah, it's family friendly. So that's my favorite game so far.
Actually, I got to be honest, I haven't seen much of the show yet because I just got here yesterday and I've been doing this today. But right now I'm really liking Just Dance 4 because that's all I can hear all the time.
And you can play
And
Just
I'm really
Dance.
into it now.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Just Dance 4. What's
Anyway,
up,
Yuzo?
Dancer? Well, like Randy, I haven't had much of a chance to go around the show yet because we've been running around and working and stuff. But from what I've seen so far, I'm really looking either forward to Zombie U or Metal Gear Rising, which I thought was really cool. It's a toss-up between those two, mainly because Zombie U's display is like amazing. Like they've got a bus and a man who's been run over. Well, it's a mannequin by the bus, so. That'll be
Not
it for
an
me.
actual man.
Like if you're asking
No,
for
it's the guy they hired. He's like lying under the bus going,
Toughest job at the show.
if you're asking for what my personal favorite, like the thing I'm most looking forward to next, it's XCOM. So that's I think playable
Should be next
over
door.
at the
XCOM's
2K
that way.
booth. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that one. That's because I'm old and I remember how to play PC. So.
All right.
And what about you, Dan? You haven't said
I'm going to
anything.
take out the cop-out answer and pick a platform, and I think of all the stuff I've played, and again,
Yes.
it's still pretty early days.
Ezio's bum rushing the stage, everyone.
We are doing a live show.
Master
too.
Assassin.
That's cool. You can just take the lollies.
Ezio just...
Anyway, so what were you saying?
The Wii U stuff, we talked a little bit about it, and I think I see a lot of potential in that platform to actually change the way that we will play games. I think we can get caught up in the kind of minutiae of, is it late to this generation, is it early to the next, the graphics better, is the hardware better.
Yeah.
But I saw a couple of things, and I've seen some demos for Wii U stuff that makes me think that I want to play that with friends and family, and I want to get 4 controllers, and there's a lot of party game stuff, but even the idea of taking something as simple as split screen, and then
I'm listening.
rather than having, one screen that is divided in the middle and 2 people play and everyone bitches about the other person screen cheating or they didn't know what they were doing because they could only see half, being able to output to a totally different device and say you can have the TV, you can have the tablet, and you can both have multiplayer experiences on the same console.
You can do that with an iPad now.
So what's
You
your
can.
answer?
So the Wii U.
Okay, that's not a game.
That's
winner
not a
is-
game. That's like, see,
winner
Nintendo
is-
has a marketing problem when you think the Wii U is a game.
Yeah.
It's just a
One really
console.
big game, right?
Anyway. Great, thanks for that long answer, Dan. No, that's
Cool
okay.
story,
The
bro.
story is the end.
But we've brought in our second special guest for the evening, Mr. Leigh Harris from MCV Pacific.
Hi, Lee.
Leigh, tell us a few words about yourself and what you do for the people at home.
Sure, okay. I'm the editor of MCV Pacific. It's the website which is dedicated to covering the games industry in Australia. So we cover the trade sector, retail, development, all of that kind of thing. So pretty much if it's happening locally, that's what we're all about.
Cool. And do you like One Direction? Because I think we're going to be hearing a lot.
Direction. One Direction.
I thought you said a completely different thing.
What did you think I said?
No, don't worry about it. It's a family-friendly show.
I just asked because we're going to be hearing a lot of One Direction.
Yeah, stop saying it now. Let's move on.
Okay.
It's a half.
I don't think I can answer that. Family-friendly show.
Okay, Leigh. Now, Leigh, what's your favourite thing that you've seen at the EB Expo so far, and what are your plans for the next couple of days? Like, what are you checking out?
Okay, there's this really, really nice cafe just out the front. They do a mean soy flat white. I was a big fan.
What platform is that?
It was on a saucer.
Does it have multiplayer?
No. Okay, it's let me think. So far, I have played an absolute arseload of Call of Duty Black Ops, and
how's Black Ops?
Yeah, Black Ops is looking sensational as you would expect.
And they're showing multiplayer, yeah?
A whole lot of multiplayer. Yeah. I think they've got more IDUs for the Call of Duty stand than they do for anything else. Yeah. I have not yet actually gone and seen the stuff that I really want to, which is Assassins and Far Cry 3. Someone might know this. Is Devil May Cry here anywhere?
No.
I don't believe
not
I
here?
don't think so, no.
All right. Well, that one would be up there.
I don't think Capcom is here in any way, shape, or form, right? Yeah.
Have a look. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Probably not.
Okay. We're not supposed to talk about that? Okay.
Maybe.
But yeah, look, as I think everyone knows Call of Duty is going to be one of the biggest games of this year, and that happens. That's fair enough. It is every single year. No surprises there. But things that are coming that are going to be a little bit more surprising, that's where Ubisoft, I think, is really going to steal Christmas. Both Far Cry and Assassins have the potential to really do some big numbers for games that are not the usual Battlefield, Call of Duty type fare. We've got Halo coming out this year as well.
Yeah.
That's going to be massive, but again, it's a known quantity.
It's the same day as Call of Duty, I believe.
The same day?
I think they launched day and date,
wow.
which is
Halo.
an aggressive strategy.
In Australia, same day as Call of Duty.
I believe so.
That's crazy.
Which,
regardless,
given
which
no one
team
wants to.
will you support, Leigh?
Which game?
I'd love to see the Xbox Live stats for the first week.
Incredible.
Who actually wins that out?
But two shooters, same day, very different franchises.
But very different franchises,
They
very
are, but at the same
different
time, it's still a battle for dollars at the end of the day.
Yeah, I guess.
There's absolutely no question that Call of Duty is going to end up being the bigger of the two games in terms of sales because it's hitting more platforms and it's just bigger. Microsoft will probably try and find a way to position the numbers in terms of, as you say, Xbox Live stats or any number of other things so they can try to compare like for like and just look at the Xbox. And within that realm, they might actually stand a chance.
Hey Leigh, I got a question for you.
Should.
One of my predictions is that it's going to be a close thing, but I reckon there's a chance that a Ubisoft title will actually be the leading selling title for Wii U this year. Like beating out Mario. What do you think?
That's not
beating
crazy.
out Mario?
Yeah.
What is it going to be? What? Which one?
Look, Ubisoft's always supported
Just
new
like Just
hardware.
Dance is coming out on it. Yeah,
Just
Just Dance is a
Dance-
crazy seller.
Just Dance was, I think it was the second highest seller of 2011.
Yeah,
after Call of Duty.
Yeah,
So-
and they've got Rayman Legends, which is looking great.
And Zombie U.
Yeah, got Zombie U coming out as well. So I think
Assassin's
Creed, Batman.
Yeah. And from what I've seen so far, looking at the Wii U games Nintendo have come out with and what Ubisoft and others have come out with, Ubisoft's actually used the gamepad better than what I've seen on
first
Nintendo.
party stuff?
Yeah, first party stuff. So the stuff I've seen on Legends, what they're using the gamepad for is a lot more interesting than what I've seen Nintendo come up with.
Not going to make a difference though.
Yeah.
I think Zombie U is by far the best game on the Wii U that I've seen. It really does take the best advantage of the multiple screens, using them to sell you on misdirection, getting you to stare at one screen and then hitting you with something on the other. Yep. It's beautiful. It really is, and it's got everyone excited who's really into their games.
Yeah.
But the people who are going to be lining up and buying Wii U on the first day, they're not necessarily going to be people who are really, really into their games. They're just people that have the money and buy things because they're out. And for those people, legacy titles like Mario are going to shine through. You might be right about Just Dance 4 though.
Yeah, because everyone plays Just Dance, right?
Yeah, well
not everyone.
almost.
I never do because I'm really manly. But
Challenge.
I'm sure other people do. All right.
Yeah.
Before the end of the show, we'll get you up there.
You have to do it. All right, but I want to talk about something a bit more serious now, which was the departure of Cliffy B from Epic Games. And earlier this year, Greg Zeschuk and Ray Mazuka left BioWare.
The Doctors.
And the Doctors.
Yeah.
Now, they're three very big names in the gaming industry, and they've become more like personalities. So when you think of Cliffy B, you don't just think of Gears of War and Epic, you think of his personality and the way he handles himself and the way he talks about himself and his games. Same with Greg and Ray, the Doctors. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what their departure has kind of meant for the gaming industry, but also this idea of having personalities in the gaming industry that you can relate to. So Cliffy B makes this type of game, and anything that Cliffy B does, I will follow because I like him as a person, but also as he makes a particular kind of game. Do you know where I'm going with this? So kind of like Miyamoto, but you know what kind of game Miyamoto makes. So what do we think about this idea of does the gaming industry need personalities like Cliffy B and Ray? And
so can I just do a quick poll of the live audience here?
Yes.
I just want to test that theory that these superstar developers are known.
Oh, okay.
Can you just raise your hands if you know who Cliffy B is? Okay, that's
we
really
got a
good.
few of them.
it's 50%.
Yeah, I think a little bit more than 50%.
Okay,
would
yeah.
you say? And what about the Doctors from BioWare? Greg
BioWare
Zeschuk
Doctors?
and Ray Mizuka.
Ray and Greg. Yeah, people know.
And Greg.
Yeah, so a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, so the theory is sound. That
Thank
these
you,
are-
Randolph.
I just wanted to find out from the live audience. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think people like Cliffy B are very well known in the industry.
Yeah. Okay.
So what do we think about their departure and kind of what this idea of personalities?
Well, that was something that was interesting about the Game Masters exhibition down in Melbourne, is that it's specifically celebrating the big names of the people who've made the games. That's everything from Galaga all the way up to Child of Eden. And one of the questions that I got the chance to ask Peter Molyneux was, what does he think about the idea of gamers being cast as auteurs, as being that one celebrity that represents a product? I mean, no game designer would ever turn around and suggest that their work was purely them. It's always about a large collaboration of people. But for some reason, we in games don't have the same ability to look at the director of a video game and say this is his brainchild, where we do in film. So everyone can look at Scorsese and Clint Eastwood and say these guys represent a certain thing. I think the same can be true of games. It just comes down to whether or not you're willing to look at people's involvement as representative of a brand, or whether you actually want them to be making a contribution in order to earn that kind of popularity. So with something like Cliffy B, he is the lead. He's the creative director on Gears, and he's been a really vibrant, forceful personality in the industry. If he'd have been a more meek individual, he would not be the celebrity that he is now, in spite of his talent. So it's kind of useful in as far as he can now go and use that gravitas and that pull to start his own studio, which might not be as big as Epic. That's if he does that.
Yeah, because it's interesting because both the BioWare Doctors were like, that's it, we're done, I'm going to go make my own beer and spend time with my family, which is cool. And I think Cliffy B...
In that order?
What?
In that order? Beer first,
family second.
Right, yeah.
And I think Cliffy B too also didn't say whether he was staying in the games industry, but he did say he just needed some time out. But it's also this question of what's going to happen to the Gears franchise without Cliffy B? What's going to happen to the Mass Effect franchise without
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they've already said that there's at least another full Mass Effect game coming.
Yeah.
Casey Hudson, who was producer or director on Mass Effect 3, is going to be back and do that again. There are series like God of War, where it was associated with David Jaffe, and that was his baby, and then he moved on, and Cory Barlog took it over, and so the names cycle through. People don't, and I think Treyarch and Infinity Ward is probably one of those good examples of people buying franchise rather than the content.
Yeah.
Than the people who make it. And
another example is Bungie. And,
exactly. People will still buy a Halo game. It's not coming from Bungie. It's coming from 343, a studio who has no Halo experience.
Yeah, but that's different because Bungie was an entity. It was a studio. It was a whole bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And they did have an identity. But these are individuals we're talking about. And I think they've managed to kind of shape an identity that's just as strong as like a studio like Bungie.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So
one interesting example I can think of is the Civilization series.
Yeah.
Civilization has, for the last little while, changed lead designers with every single game and every single expansion pack, and that's actually been really, really good for the franchise, because in Civ 4 they had Brian Reynolds take the lead, and he came on and did all this stuff with religion that had never been done before. Move on to Civ 5, and they were going for a hex-based thing, making it more of a military strategy game. And yeah, so it was that was an interesting one, but I do kind of think there is the possibility to just allow a new designer to come on and take, new directions and that sort of thing with games. So when Cliffy B leaves, all it's going to mean is that the future of the Gears franchise is going to possibly take a bit of a new direction. But there's a good argument that says that that's already happening anyway. Gears of War Judgment is only actually really here because this console generation is still ticking over.
They need something to...
Yeah. It was supposed to be a trilogy. It would have been a trilogy if the consoles would hurry up and come out.
So basically it's Microsoft, Sony's fault.
Yeah, but a new generation means a new breath of fresh air and a new life for every franchise that's out there, Gears of War included, whether or not Cliffy B's there.
What about kind of like developers and identities that are starting to kind of get older, and I don't want to say, I was being nice about this, I don't want to say like they're, but they will due to retire soon, perhaps.
Names.
Like, Warren Spector's pretty old, Peter Molyneux's pretty old, Miyamoto's pretty old. I mean, these guys are like, they're the grandfathers of the industry, and they're getting to a stage where, I think very soon we could see them retiring. So that'll be interesting to have an industry with all those different guys just gone. Like, it'll be a new generation of individuals. And
but that's natural, though, isn't it?
It is natural, but it'd be weird going through that shift, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think going back to Game Masters again, there was Warren Spector and Tetsuya Mizuguchi, both of whom, when they were asked about the future of games and all that sort of thing, wanted to very, very firmly point out that they thought that the next big step in gaming was not going to come from them. And
so
what they really meant by that is that they know they're maturing, they're refining their particular, favorite thing about games. Yeah. Warren Spector is trying with Epic Mickey 2 to really, really nail his idea of how to blend narrative and action perfectly. Mizuguchi changed the world with Rez, but Child of Eden is clearly more him trying to express himself through a medium he already understands, or through a genre he already understands, through Rez. So I think these guys are quite happy to continue to hone their craft until they get along and retire and whatever else. And they're just looking forward to the incredibly arrogant, upstart youth who are going to come forward and just go, no, you guys are all idiots, here's how you do it right. And they're going to make incredibly bold moves, and they're maybe going to do something people don't expect, and although it won't prove their arrogance right, that's still a bad trait to have. I'm calling that now. But yeah, they will be able to do things that people who are a little bit more seasoned won't be able to do.
And that's a lot of the sort of the major names coming out now, like the individual auteur names are coming out of the indie scene, right? Because you do have more control over a product, as opposed to, something like AC or Call of Duty. There's no one name really that you can associate with that, because it is such a massive, sprawling product.
And I think the brand would consume those personalities anyway. There are still pockets. The Josh Olin and
that guy,
Mr. B, Infinity Ward Community Manager.
Yeah, there's the Western Zampella guys. From Infinity Ward.
The Respawn guys.
Actually, I would look at them as, I suppose, as positive role models for those big celebrity names within large studios that are owned by even larger studios or publishers or whatever. Western Zampella leaving to create Respawn Entertainment means that they are going to be able to genuinely try something new that they were locked into not being able to do while they were under Activision. Then you've got Tim Schafer, who left to go and found Double Fine. And he barely held on by the skin of his teeth, but he still made that happen. It's possible that Cliffy B is going to go down the same route and end up with his own studio, and then we can actually see what he's really all about, because I'm still trying to figure out how his vision for gaming is anything more than unbridled machismo. So let's see.
It worked, though, right? Like
it works.
It worked for a few years, but then like
It worked for a few years, and he is Mr. Cover-based shooter guy, right? And like before that,
yeah.
And that's a big thing now, right? Cover-based shooters, like
yeah.
It's a creative
I'm
genre.
not being dismissive of his work or anything. Well, I am kind of.
I think any I think any kind of like, especially if those guys like what Molyneux did, right? He left and then he went and started his own studio, and now he's working on these like tiny little psychological kind of like puzzle.
Yeah, he
games,
called
whatever.
them experiments.
Experimental
Milo.
games. Yeah. No, not Milo. Milo will make a comeback, hopefully.
Milo's coming
but
back, alright.
I guess it's just bringing more diversity and using their experience and their awesome game-making brains to kind of, yes, journalism, to kind of bring more experiences into the industry and more diversity and stuff like that.
And that's I'm hopeful for that. Like I think games in general started to look in the last generation or two like they were all consolidating around the biggest of the big, and that everyone that had an interesting concept was starting to get wiped out. At the same time, Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network and Steam allowed for the proliferation of the indie scene in a way that we hadn't seen before, because it was actually offering a commercial avenue for indie developers to make money. And when that started to flourish, we started to see those games get bigger and bigger. And now you've got things which might be a bite-sized chunk, like the 2-hour experience that is Journey, but they're still immaculately crafted games that are highly imaginative. And so I guess when I think of the big $100 box products and the $5 things you can download on as an indie type of title, what's happening is the indie titles are getting more varied, more big production, and more expensive, and are reaching up to what you might have expected to pay $50 for back in the days when everything was in a box. And then on the top level, you've still got those couple of $100 games, but a lot of even the biggest titles are just starting to drop down to $80 or $90 at launch. So I think what we're seeing is a widening of the whole spectrum of what kind of games are available, and with that, we're going to need our biggest and our best creative minds to be working on things that are not necessarily big mainstream shooters. So it's a good thing.
Cool. Now I'm just going to ask you all what your game of the year is, because I'm just going to do that.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. What's game of the year?
In October?
Yeah, so far.
My current game of the year.
Current game of the year, and why?
FTL right now is my game of the year.
Why?
Because I've always wanted a decent Star Trek simulator, and it's the closest I can get to it right now. And it is like, have you guys played FTL?
Oh yeah.
What do you think of it?
I have no idea.
What do you think?
I think it's a candidate for sure.
Yeah.
Like,
it's 10. Have you guys played FTL?
Not yet. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't played it.
$10, and it's a.
So you're tweeting
it's
about
a Starship Simulator roguelike. So you're basically all you're doing is managing shields and weapons and power distribution.
Sounds like something you'd like.
Opening blast doors to put out fires in space, and it's really, really nerdy. But
it really is.
I'm really
Game of the
enjoying it
year.
right now.
All
Yeah.
right.
It's also an important one because it's one of the first titles that's gotten funding from Kickstarter that has actually come to light and been good.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't get all its funding from Kickstarter, which is an important thing to note, but it's still it's been in production for years now. There really isn't a whole lot on Kickstarter that's actually been funded and come out yet, so it's good to see something happening.
When's Double Fine Adventure supposed to be out? Like next year or this year?
I don't know. If it was this year, we'd know what the name was.
Yeah, it has to be next
So
year.
it's got to be next year.
Or if it's dated at all.
Yeah.
So what about you, Lee? What do you think? So far, game of the year so far.
Sound Shapes.
Oh yeah, you love that game.
I
don't
love
you?
that game. I'm not shutting up about it on Twitter. I love it. It's
You did go on a lot about that.
It's one of those games. It falls, I suppose, into the same kind of genre as the likes of Rez or Lumines, Child of Eden. The previous game by the same guy was called Riff Everyday Shooter. The reason why this game is good is because it's properly putting the focus on the artist and the musician, and a range of them. I look at it as a veritable art gallery for different types of artists that are not necessarily game designers. Really simple game mechanics, bring the art, bring the sound design all up to the forefront and showcase what they can do. I love it for that. I haven't seen another game that does it.
Are you playing it on Vita or PlayStation?
PlayStation. My Vita is broken.
Okay.
You hear that, Sony? My Vita is broken.
One Vita stat. I'm gonna go with Journey. Journey was really amazing. Was Uncharted 3 last year or this year?
Journey's this year.
No, Uncharted 3. Was that last
Uncharted
year?
3? Yeah, it was last year.
Oh, okay, well then Journey. Yeah. No, Journey was awesome. Really, really cool. Did you play it?
Yeah. You know what? My top 3, the ones that were jumping around in my head when you asked the question, were Journey, FTL, and Sound Shapes.
Oh, there you
so
go.
I'm just glad they all got a mention.
Covered
I'm
3
happy.
of them.
Dan?
I'm going to throw a curly one out there.
Go mainstream
God,
on Go mainstream on us.
No,
Come on, go
the
mainstream.
opposite.
Say Borderlands 2.
No,
Because it's
not
finished that,
Borderlands
yeah?
2. I like Borderlands 2, but it's not my game of the year so far.
Yeah.
I think the game that I've probably put the greatest number of hours and felt the most rewarding experience from this year has been DayZ.
Yeah. I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it is a bit rough, and I'm willing to forgive a lot of the kind of rough edges, and I still just want to keep playing with every new patch.
Yeah.
You know, they might break one thing, but they might fix another.
Yeah, but you've had some really interesting, like, sociological experiences in DayZ.
And that's the
like,
thing, it's like a microcosm of human existence.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
really a different experience every time. A lot of games are about building up stuff to get to a point. And the thing with DayZ is that it's, I think I've said it a couple of times before, but it's really liberating because you have this intense relationship with your character. And you know, you have a finite amount of blood as resource, and you could die at any time, but there's also this really liberating feeling of at any time I could die and just start again, and I wouldn't feel like I'd lost 100 hours of play, or
It sounds just like FTL.
but
Yeah,
not
permadeath. Everyone loves it. Well,
Yeah.
no one loves it. That's why we love it.
And the fact that you never really know like, you get in an online game and you really know what people are there to do. You know, whether it's grief or actually do the job, but in DayZ you'll come across people who have really pure intentions and they will help people out. You'll find others who, you know, just want to troll, and both can exist.
Awesome. All right,
Let me tell you about DayZ.
I know you love DayZ. Okay, I think we're just going to take some more questions from the audience before we move on to our last segment.
Okay.
of
And
the
remember
show.
to yell out.
And we've got
We have
another question.
we have this
Anyone
quiet
else?
window where Just Dance isn't actually going.
Does
so
anyone
yell
else
out
have
your
a
question.
question?
Oh, there it goes.
Besides, no one else has a question.
There was a question?
With Metal Gear Solid Rising coming out, I just played the demo and I found that the environment, it's not as much stealth as the previous Metal Gear Solid. So I found that this Metal Gear Solid Rising's more environment. You tend to move the environment around more with the slicing and everything. So in the environment, what do you think, what would you prefer out of the stealth? Like, it's not very stealthy anymore. It doesn't have as much stealth as the previous game. So I think they've taken a big turn in that when they've put out a new game like this. As like Splinter Cell, at least it has a fair bit of stealth in it, but Metal Gear Solid was based around stealth, and it's sort of gone away from that track now. So I'm hoping they go back to it.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you completely have to divorce your Metal Gear Solid experience when thinking about Revengeance. By the way, I love that title, Revengeance. Yeah, it is. It's only a Metal Gear game in name, but yeah, I don't think you should. think
and universe, but
and universe, yeah. But like in terms of style, I don't know. Did you play Vanquish at all? Did you play Vanquish? Yeah, so it's more Vanquish than like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
So it's like a crazy, over-the-top Japanese sort of like action adventure game that just happens to be in the same universe as Metal Gear, but in terms of games, I think they're completely different, and that's where, you know, Metal Gear Solid 5 is that game. If you want, you know, like the next evolution in the NGS stealth franchise, but Revengeance is just a, you know, kick back and be stupid type of game, I think. Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions before we move on?
In a game, would you rather see really good graphics or a really unique art style? Like really realistic environments, or would you rather see like something really abstract?
Ben, can you tell us what he said? Ben.
So like in a game, would you prefer something like good graphics, like really realistic, or a unique art style, like very fantasy type?
I'm sorry, Ben. Can you just say what the question was? Sorry.
He said,
In a game, do you prefer really realistic graphics or a unique art style?
Oh, I definitely prefer unique art style. So I very much love games that kind of experiment with art style and kind of create something new. But you know, really good graphics is great. But you know, if a game can really capture my attention with different kind of graphics, then I definitely prefer that. You just love good graphics.
Yeah, I think it's getting more and more important these days to have a really, really solid art direction. Really good graphics were very, very important about 10, 15 years ago when games were still trying to figure out ways to get closer and closer to representing reality. And they're still trying to do that a lot. But now that we've already got these really amazing graphics and we know what we can do with them, especially since a lot of smaller developers don't necessarily have the ability to compete with the really, really big budget games, a good way of differentiating yourself and expressing yourself is to move away from next-gen brown and really start to play around with light and color. And I think we're seeing a lot of that start to really happen now. It's a great thing.
Yeah. I think when the next generation of consoles comes in, which is next year, whenever they decide to announce it, it's going to be all about graphics again.
Yeah.
So because
it has to be.
We've reached the stage of the console cycle where everyone's on the same. Basically, it's a level playing field, right? So everyone can sort of push the hardware to like this distance, and it becomes harder to differentiate just on how you look, like your graphical fidelity. So that's why you're seeing a lot of really interesting art styles come out. Like Borderlands 2 is a great example. So they're not really pushing graphics, but they've got this unique art style that they went for instead, and it becomes visually distinctive from there. And at the end of the day, it's all about gameplay, right? I mean, for me, FTL looks like it's animated in ASCII, but it's still an awesome game. You know what I mean? So it just what hooks you in. So
in the end, I think a good game stands on its own 2 feet, regardless of its graphical ability. And again, to go back to DayZ, it's not the prettiest looking game. It's a hacked mod, effectively, that lives on top of a game that came out several years ago. But as long as gameplay is compelling, people will stick with an experience. And I think we've actually got to a point where graphics are this almost crutch of the industry, where we have to constantly raise the bar and sell devices. Well, not we on the media side, but the industry has to make a compelling argument to buy that next device. And to do that, a lot of developers have said, we need more power, we need more realistic graphics. And I think we've seen some really great experiences this generation. Games like Heavy Rain.
Don't talk to me about
I know you don't like Heavy Rain.
Get out.
We'll wait till Joab's on to talk about Heavy Rain.
Let's get Joab on to Heavy Rain.
Cool. All right, we're going to have our Resident Evil 6 discussion now. Thank you so much, Leigh, for joining us.
Thank you, Leigh.
And please take a handful of lollies before you go.
I couldn't.
Just what?
Okay.
And that was, and the site was MCVPacific.com?
Yeah. MCVPacific.com. It's great.
Way to plug.
Yeah, best sign off in history.
Thank you,
Leigh. Thanks, Leigh.
All right, we're going to get Mr. Joab Gilroy on. He is the editor of Telstra's GameArena.
You know what we should have done was licked one of the candies and back up.
What up? I don't know. Hey, Joe, what's
Tell
up?
us about Heavy Rain.
Oh, don't get me started on Heavy Rain. I adored this game so much.
I know you did, right?
Can we not? We're not talking about Heavy Rain.
My favourite part in Heavy Rain.
You're just taking
Spoilers.
the
We won't.
You already love Heavy Rain. You know that, right? That was your game of the year. Heavy Rain, right?
It was.
I did know this, yes.
Yeah, we've had many Twitter arguments about this. Why don't you like it? I don't want to talk about it. Okay.
Right.
No, we're going to talk about Resident Evil 6 now.
Did you introduce Joe?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I did.
Do we know who the...
Yeah, I said
Thanks
he's
for coming, Joe.
the editor of GameArena. Sorry, this is Joe. He's the editor
Hi.
of GameArena. Joe, do you want to tell us a little bit...
Fans,
Thank
Joe,
you.
fans.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do, just briefly?
I'm the editor of GameArena. It's a video game website hosted by Telstra. We're primarily a game server provider. So a lot of what we do is, has for a long time been focused on, I guess, PC games, but multiplayer experiences in general. But me personally, I like all games, so I'll play whatever.
Whatever.
I've got a question for you, Joe.
Hit me.
Why the Max Payne look?
Well, I did actually dress up as Max Payne a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, right,
and,
okay,
Yeah, I had to shave the beard because it was too unruly for me, and I couldn't manage it.
Yeah.
So I was hoping it'd grow back in and I could have the Hawaiian shirt on.
What's to manage? A beard is its own reward. It just kind of does its own thing.
Some of us
let it run free.
Some of us can't control our beards with our minds, Dan. We don't all have that superpower. Yeah.
Don't touch it. That's creepy.
Anyway, thank you, Joe. So we brought you on to talk a little bit about Resi 6 today. So the game's been out for a week.
A week. 1 week.
Yep.
Yeah.
It got a range of positive, mostly negative reviews. Mostly because, well, I mean, a lot of the reviews I've read criticized it for trying to please everyone, trying to fit in too many things and kind of like taking bits from previous games and shoving them all into this one game until it's just this giant mess. You don't really know what's going on. Also, lengthy QuickTime events and the story and stuff like that. So, I wanted to talk to you briefly, because you've played it. I wanted to talk to you briefly about what you thought about the game, but also then we're going to talk into what Capcom said about it. And you know, Capcom released this statement, and they're like, well, you may not like it, but it doesn't really matter because we're the developers, and you know, we can't really please everybody. So there's this disconnect between developers and consumers, and sometimes developers just have to go with their gut instinct and kind of just make the game that they want to make. So, what did you think of Resident Evil 6?
I haven't liked it so far. I haven't liked it since I first saw it, really. And yeah, I cannot stand the overemphasis on QuickTime events, and I can't stand that they haven't managed to learn anything from like games like God of War 3, which managed to surround the screen with the buttons you needed to press, and suddenly, you know, you can watch the action on screen and then use your peripheral vision to press the freaking buttons instead of like watching. And they're all the time. They're in every freaking cutscene. It's unbelievable how many QuickTime events there are in this game, and you spend most of your time just watching the lower portion of the screen,
so
trying not to.
Disrupts the gameplay, and it
disrupts what. See, what they're attempting to do, the whole point of a QuickTime event is to keep the player interacting. People complain, oh, Metal Gear Solid has too many cutscenes, right? And so they're complaining that they don't get to... they're complaining that they don't get to interact, okay? But QuickTime events are an attempt to bridge that gap. But when they're done poorly, they're so bad for the story. And it's not like the Resident Evil story is like blowing minds anyway. Like, I can never tell what's got a worse story, the movies or the games. Like, the acting is almost always atrocious, and the script. Good God!
Are you talking about the movie or the game?
Exactly, right?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Like,
hold
they're
on
just
a
the
minute.
same.
Like, Resi games have always been held in such high esteem, right? So it's like, does it feel like a big blow that, you know, Resi 6 is just like a big disappointment?
This is just.
But is it a big disappointment?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, like, as you mentioned at the start, the review scores have varied widely, right? So I've seen 8.5s all the way down to, I think Destructoid gave it a 3. You know, we gave it a 4.5. And we've had some very positive ones on the other side of things as well. So IGN gave it 7 or 8, something like that. So it really has divided, you know, like opinion, right?
This is really interesting because, especially with a really big game like this, you don't really see that a lot when a big game like this comes out, and the reviews are generally all the same in terms of like the score and what they say. Like, generally, you don't really get like a really huge divide like this. So it's a very interesting case, like, because you know, I mean.
Can I just throw it out? I just want to see, audience out there, like, who's actually played Resident Evil 6? And keep your hands up if you think it's good.
Well, we got a halfway over here.
About half? Say that's about
half. Wasn't sure.
Yeah. So there's quite a few people who put their hands up who got the game, and about half said it was actually good. Yeah. All right. So, you know, like, it's dividing opinion, right? There's got to be something about it that, you know, just doesn't actually click with some people, and maybe it's the fact that it's it's a disjointed experience. Is that what?
It is. The gameplay doesn't flow very well thanks to the continuous QuickTime events. Obviously the narrative, I'm not a fan of that, but I'm not a fan of what they've done to the gameplay either. Like, I cannot stand how these pioneers of the survival horror experience continue to step away from survival horror. Like, I've got no problem with...
They have said in the past survival horror is not a genre that is profitable. So that's...
So you're actually blaming, like, Capcom?
Absolutely, I'm blaming.
But
who else would get the blame for that?
I just want to know what you're, like who. I mean, I guess where the problem lies.
But it was a few months ago. There was a Capcom producer, and I can't remember what the name was, but he did go on the record saying that survival horror is not a genre that you can have the big AAA games in, because no one really buys it, right? It's not as big as it used to be, right? So and I think that's probably the direction they went with Resi 6, in that they just threw a lot of things in there to try and appeal to a wide audience. Right?
The thing is, though, survival horror doesn't sell like it used to because we've had quality games and we're not going to put up with trash anymore. So when they release Resident Evil 3, which barely fit the survival horror mantle anyway, like, we're not going to put up with that. Why would we? So
what's the last survival horror game you think actually sold well? Dead Space?
Dead Space.
Anything else around that, or because it looks like with 3 they're dialing back from survival horror as well, right? Like, looks like they're going full-on bro action.
So
right?
they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want all the horror fans to come in and love Dead Space again, but they're also wanting all these action fans to come in and get into the co-op Gears of War style expletive deleted.
Yeah. Okay. But I think just, they've long seeded, Capcom has long seeded the survival horror ground. Like, I don't think, 5 was definitely not survival horror. 4 started to get a bit more action-y, but
4 was a great blend, right? It was a great blend of action and survival, and you still had inventory management and ammo management. And then we stepped to 5, where they dial back the horror a lot by introducing permanent co-op, which just doesn't work with horror. You can't have a friend with you and be afraid, because for a whole number of reasons. And now in Resident Evil 6, they've just gone even further. I think it's the Resident Evil series. Every time they release a numbered game, right, and God knows they've diluted the brand enough across everything else, Outbreak, Survivor, etc. But 1 is good, 2 is pretty good, 3 is pretty abysmal, 4 is good, 5 is okay, and 6 is abysmal. See? In 3s. Okay. It's a trend.
Next one, we're good.
All right. Resident Evil 7 is going to blow my mind.
So, Joab, do you think that, let's talk about this idea that developers have a responsibility towards consumers to give them what they want. So, in the case of Resi 6, do you think that, did Capcom have a responsibility to say, okay, well, we know what our audience wants, but then again, we have our own artistic integrity or ideas about the game that we want to put in. So there was obviously a sacrifice on one of those two. What?
Go ahead.
What? What? Why are you laughing?
It just seems like I don't know whether I've got to have a caveat. I haven't actually played it, and I've just read a lot of the reviews that are going around and read the descriptions of the different types of gameplay that you engage in the 4 different storylines, and it just seems like they decided to throw everything in there, as opposed to have having one vision, artistic vision.
But obviously
they decided to ditch the vision and go for the. Okay, we know this sells right now, and this sells right now, and this sells right now.
We can package it all up, but
maybe they're trying for the pro hard style of video game, where they throw it all at the canvas.
I find it really hard to believe that any development studio, no matter who it is or what they're doing, would sit in a room and say, all right, well, we know we're making a crap game, but whatever. Like, I think everyone tries to do their best. What?
Zynga?
Stop bragging on Zynga.
No, but in terms of, I think you just have this, you have this esteem for all game development, in that they've always got this sort of artistic sort of integrity. right up front. But at the end of the day, it's a business. So, you know, there are a lot of game developers out there who do have this. But there's also a lot who know that this is a meal ticket. We need to make something that is selling right now, and that's what we go out to market with.
But I just find it so hard to believe that Capcom was like, you know what, we don't really give a crap about Resident Evil anymore. Let's just whatever, and here you go, have a game. Like, I just find that
I
really
don't think
hard
they
to
did
believe.
that, but I think they they tried to be smart about it in their in the sort of merge of genres that they're trying to put in there, because it was more maybe like a business decision rather than an artistic one at the end.
It's hard to imagine. Look, they're entitled to their artistic vision, but it's hard to imagine Michael Bay saying, look, Transformers 2 is however I want it to be, okay? And respect my artistic vision as the director. I can do whatever I want. Like, it's fine. They can do what they want. It's their game, right?
Yes.
But we're going to call them out on it.
Yeah,
Why shouldn't
and
we?
that's the other point. Is like,
Are you saying Resident Evil is a Transformers 2 video game?
And that's the other point. Like, as consumers, we totally have a right to say, "Well, I don't like this," and I don't like that. So that's where we come in. We're allowed to say it, and we're pretty
but
vocal
it
about
shipped
it.
pretty well, hasn't it? Like, they came up with some ship numbers.
It shipped well.
very well.
4.5 million, but
that's
again,
the thing. I
that's
have
not
no doubt
indicative of
that
sales.
That'll
even
sell.
though it's not doing so, I just had a look, and the Metacritic scores somewhere around 66 at the moment. So it's not 2 and 3 territory. It's warm. And I have no doubt that we'll still sell a lot of units. There'll be a lot of people who will buy Resident Evil 6 on Resident Evil
see
Legacy.
what it's all about. Yeah.
I actually want to play it.
I want to play more now because of the whole,
Or is it like when you hear of like a really bad movie review and you're like, oh, I want to go see that, even though I know it's not going to be good? I want to be
Michael
involved in
Bay
that trend.
film.
Exactly.
But it could be that, right? Like, I don't really like Michael Bay as a filmmaker, but I watch his films because they're big and dumb, and I can turn my mind off and
Make
just
you
like
feel kick-ass,
look at
yeah.
explosions and be happy with the giant robots on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, can I have the same experience with Resi? Can I just go, turn my brain off, just have some, very basic fun?
Are you saying that Resident Evil 6 is the Transformers of the gaming industry? That's basically what you're saying, right?
I'm pretty sure I just said that 2 seconds ago.
He also
Try and keep
accused
up.
me of doing the same.
Did you just say that?
It's like a circle of
It's like
accusations.
a loop. It's
Echo
an
chamber.
No, you like Michael
I'm
Bay.
surprised anything in
What?
Echo.
I never
Yeah.
said anything
Do you guys
about
think
that.
No, but
No.
like, okay,
Are
so
you
like,
saying that?
do we as critics, have to assign this sort of like
I
high
know what you're
artistic
saying.
value
Oh,
to
okay.
a game?
So you're just saying,
Can
why
it just
the
be
hell-
entertainment?
Why
exactly.
the hell can't
Can
you
it just be
enjoy
entertainment?
it and that's
Yeah.
it? And I say, yeah, totally. I love going to the movies too.
So at the
Watch
end of the
Michael
day,
Bay films.
are you being entertained by Resi?
No, but I wonder if perhaps I can't be entertained by Resident Evil anymore.
Yes.
Maybe I'm not capable. When I look at Leon Kennedy and he gets in an elevator and is surprised
Do we want to know where
that
this is
there's
going?
a zombie
Oh, right.
at the bottom of this elevator. Right, this guy has been through like 50 billion zombies. He's
Yes.
killed small European nations worth of zombies.
Yes.
And yet he's still shocked that the president is a zombie, or that there's a zombie outside this elevator, or whatever.
Yes.
This isn't spoiler territory. Don't worry. It's,
No,
it's very
that's
early
cool.
on.
But these are narrative quibbles you're coming out
Another
here, Joe.
one.
These are narrative quibbles. Talk to me about gameplay. Are you just enjoying it as a game?
I don't think I can. Okay, like
You're
you can
thinking
now.
too much
there's-
about this, Joby.
You can move and shoot. What? That's just ridiculous. No, but it's still such a rigid version of moving and shooting. It's like this is their first attempt at it or something. And
Well, it is their best attempt.
it's not Capcom as a company,
Oh, yes.
though, right? They could have borrowed some tips from Lost Planet or something.
Yeah,
maybe not Lost Planet.
No, not
Maybe
Lost Planet. Yeah.
All right.
Shut up. We can take some questions.
Shut up.
from
We're going to
Twitch.
take some questions from Twitch.
So, this is probably a bit of a loaded question now, but Keyblade Yoshi wants to know, do you think they should remake Resident Evil 2?
Weren't they talking about
Because
that?
I believe they've said that Capcom wouldn't be opposed to a remake if there was enough fan interest.
I.e.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
show me
close
the
up of that?
Benjamins. Yeah.
That's the money sign.
They could,
Anyway.
They could probably kickstart that, right?
You could probably kickstart that.
It's probably enough RE2 fans that
The
want that
Capcom,
made.
would a major company kickstart?
Activision.
Why wouldn't they?
What? Are we talking about
would you give money if Activision kickstarted something?
Call of Duty? No. Fuck no.
Would you pay if Capcom kickstarted?
I just said the
Resi
F
2?
word. I'm sorry.
I thought it was going to be me who said it.
Nope. Oh, sorry. Anyway.
But I think kickstarting is about the people who can't raise their own collateral to be able to do it.
Like Capcom. With Resi Evil 2.
Capcom
They're
doesn't
still going to
count.
make a lot of money on
They
RE6.
still make it. They just don't want to.
I don't doubt that.
Inexplicably, a lot of money on RE6, and they've released 15 Street Fighter games last year. So
That's right. Yeah.
surely they've got
making
the
mint on the
cash.
fighters.
No, they should not remake Resident Evil 2. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to screw it up. Like this would be like asking Sega to remake Sonic. There's no way Sega gets Sonic correct nowadays, or Sonic 2, or Sonic 3. They're just not capable. Like, just wrest it from their control and force them to do something else.
That's when they try and make new Sonic games, though, right?
Do you think that they could take that experience of screwing Sonic, like in later generations, and somehow make a competent remake of Sonic? I don't think so. It seems very unlikely to me.
Okay, are there any more questions?
Yep.
Are you typing on Dan's lap?
No.
Yeah. Okay, that's not weird at all.
We're going to talk about... We've already talked about the Wii U and whether we think it'll do well, right? We think it'll do reasonably well, but it's really just dependent
Actually,
on
no,
the
we haven't asked
software.
Joe. What do you think it'll
Do you
sell
think the
well?
Wii do?
I think it'll sell well. Of course it will.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Nintendo.
Like lead console this Christmas?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably got a decent shot at it. It depends on the pricing of their gamepad, I guess, right?
Other questions?
How about we take one more from
Are you just
Twitch?
trying to distract people because you've got candy in your mouth?
No.
Yes.
One more question.
Yes.
Spartan Jig asks, how much destruction are we going to see in multiplayer?
It can be any multiplayer for any game.
I think we're talking about Resi multiplayer.
I think we're talking about Resi there.
How much are we what?
Destruction.
In multiplayer?
Yeah.
For which game?
Any
Resident
game.
Evil 6, I believe.
I think it's going to be quite a lot. Yeah.
Destruction of hopes and dreams, or
I think it's going to be emergent destruction environments and gameplay. Okay.
Great. Thanks for that. Cool. All right. Well,
how could anyone play Resident Evil 6 multiplayer when there is a perfectly wonderful multiplayer zombie game out right now? It's a mod. It's called DayZ, and it's amazing. Just go play that instead.
Oh man, let's talk about DayZ.
Let's talk about DayZ.
I think we need to wrap up now. We talked about
Actually,
this.
before we go, we have to ask Joe what his game of the year so far is.
Game
Or did
of
you
the
just
year.
say what it is?
It's DayZ's still a mod, so I'd feel bad.
All right, okay.
I'd feel bad about giving it to it. I would
Yeah,
say
but it's going to go standalone by the end of the year, so there's still
before
a
the
chance.
end of the year. Yes,
Plug your shit.
it's still got a chance.
So what do you reckon?
No, wait. I would say Borderlands 2.
Someone had to say it.
I love that game.
It's a good game.
I keep playing it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Yeah. Out of the games that I've played and can talk about.
Yeah.
Yes.
That we can talk about.
I think it's early
Okay.
days. We'll have to sit
Yes,
on the
embargo
middle.
stuff.
back.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
And
Cheers.
you stay right there because I think we're just going to wrap up now and just plug our various segments that we've got coming up. So
Okay.
we've got an Injustice demo coming up.
At 4:30 today.
4:30 on the stage.
Yeah.
And,
Mr. Ed Boon.
Yes, we have Ed Boot on the stage to demo Injustice at 4:30 today, so come back for that.
And then tomorrow we've got a whole bunch of stuff that we're showing on the stage. We've got Halo 4, we've got Assassin's Creed.
So many games.
So many games.
So we're kicking off with the big one, right? Is it?
We are. We're starting with Call of Duty Black Ops 2 tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
That's going to be around midday Australian Eastern Standard Time. We should have the times listed for the guys who are outside of Australia. Then we've got the esports chat. Zorin's going to chat to a whole bunch of really interesting people who are doing cool stuff in esports, players, organizers, the people who are involved. We've got Halo 4. We've got PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. We have Medal of Honor. Lots of stuff coming up.
And Sunday's even bigger.
Sunday's
right?
even bigger. We'll tell you about that tomorrow.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back very shortly.
Well,
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.